Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac, joined by one Adam Ship, my money sharer, as we get ready for a 10, 7, 6, no, a 4 game main slate on Saturday. And even if we were to stretch it out, there's only 5 games because there's one game tipping off at 5. There must be one heck of a rivalry weekend in the SEC for college football, Adam. How you doing?
Doing good. Kind of sucks that it's 4 games, but I guess I'll get a day and a half off this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, not to fear, it's looking at Sunday's slate. We're either going to get 7 games starting at 6 or 5 games starting at 7. Either way, hour before lock, you're going to get one fast Eddie Fear. And that, I would guess, he will probably go an hour and 15 minutes before lock if it ends up being all 7 games. So that would be 4:45 for those of you worried about NFL lineups on Sunday. Not to fear, you're going to have those done by 4:05 and 4:20, so you can dip right into the NBA and extend your booze time. There we are. Adam, let's talk about the slate here. We're just going to dive right into it. No reason to pull any punches. Let's focus on, let me get back here. We're going to talk a little bit about Yahoo, of course, the presenting sponsor for the DFS Early Bird podcast, but let's focus on DraftKings. We're going to go game by game as we go through this for our 4 games. And then again, you're going to get Adam and I on Saturday morning with a little bit more news at 9:30 Eastern time. And we should have some practice reports and or shoot around and or, whispers and nods to the people following the teams, but we've got New Orleans and Charlotte here starting things off. We have some nice games, Adam. The over-unders, without announcing the teams, 231, 219, 233, and 220. Not too shabby for a 4-game slate. Starting off, we have New Orleans and Charlotte in Charlotte. Take it away, my friend. We've got Brandon Ingram on a back-to-back. Terry Rozier did not feel revenge in his heart going against Boston, nor did Kemba Walker. What do you want to do here with Brandon Ingram, Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball, etc.?
Yeah, 2 teams that are not very good defensively. New Orleans is one of the faster teams in the league as well, whereas Charlotte's pretty slow. So a pace down spot for the Hornets. We had Josh Hart coming off the bench on Friday night. Nicolo Melli rejoined the starting lineup. Don't know if that'll be the case. Don't know if Jahlil Okafor will stay in the starting lineup or not for the Pelicans either, but he did start on Friday. So I think that with it being a 4-game slate, like I think a lot's going to obviously depend on what the rotation looks like on Friday. We don't know that yet. But Derek Favors only played 8 minutes in his first game back from injury. He did say that he feels better going into Friday's game. So we'll see, what Okafor's rotation looks like. But with it being a 4-game slate, that could be a spot that you look to for some value.
All right. Shout out to the premium chat, Adam, here at osmo.com. I've had 2 people tag me and said, hey, just saw the announcement that Courtney Lee is going to be starting here. Is this a revenge game? And I said, nope, it's okay. Adam and I are on the podcast right now. We are assuming this is a ceremonial start. We've got a few guys going each way on this game, a few guys on the bench or not even with the team going each way for the game that once you guys are hearing this, especially if you're listening to us on Saturday morning, you'll already know what's going on with Dallas and New York. Yes, we do like to talk about the revenge and narratives and fun stuff like that. Occasionally, it works out. Occasionally, it might actually have some legs. And more often than not, it is just pure noise. Much like the Morris twins actually having good games against each other, Adam, both in the same game for the first time in their in their 15th overall matchup against each other. So come on, guys. We like to talk about it. It makes for fun. Basketball. So let's back up. And Fast Eddie talked about this well. Yes, revenge does exist. Yes, BVP exists, etc. But how do you quantify it? It's incredibly difficult.
You can't because you just can't. People pointed out when it happens, like, oh, it was a revenge game because this guy played well. Like, it may or may not have had anything to do with it. There are plenty of times it fails. Trying to factor it into your DFS lineups is beyond stupid.
Yeah, and Adam, you may actually kind of appreciate this. Eddie, actually, I think I can't remember. I forget he played at some obscure college or junior college. It was either basketball or baseball or both. But he did both in high school. And if for those of you that haven't met Eddie, he's like 6'2" or 6'3", so he's a pretty tall fella. But Adam, he was talking about, yeah, there might be BVP, but how do you quantify that versus somebody that is good at hitting against somebody throwing sidearm, 3/4 arm, over the top, curveballs, changeups, etc.? He's like, yeah, there were certain guys that kicked my ass, but there were other guys that I could destroy. And he goes, that's low level stuff. He said, at the higher level, who knows? And he said, how the hell do you tell it happened? So yeah, it's out there. But if you can tell when it's going to happen, good for you. Good on you. Buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, it's one of the most. I will say that if you were ever going to factor it in, NBA is the only sport where you should possibly even think about it. But that being said, you still can't quantify it. So
yeah, and that was his point as well. He's like, oh, you can shoot, you can pass, you can do whatever. It's the most controllable. He goes, who the hell knows? Really? It's like, come on. We have way better stats. We have way better analysts here on Osmo.com. And he said, why don't you guys listen to the 6 or 7 guys that come on air before me before you ask me about if it's a revenge game or not. So there we are. All right, back to the task at hand. Coming on here, we've got I'm not really a fan of this first game, Adam, and it has the second highest over-under. I'm not incredibly sure where I want to dive in. Is there anybody on the Charlotte side that piques your interest here? Perhaps a Cody Zeller, Cody Zeller's really it for me, because who knows what's going on with PJ Washington here with his various myriad of nagging injuries. One could always crop up on us.
Zeller, I can't get there with any confidence. It's 3 straight games now where he hasn't closed, hasn't come close to closing, has played 20, 17, and 19 minutes. PJ Washington played 27 and a half minutes against Boston, lost the final 6 minutes to blowout. So I think you can still count on him for around 34 minutes here in a nice pace-up spot. I also think Devontae Graham, just continues to play solid minutes against Boston. He played 30 minutes, but he also subbed out with 4.5 minutes to go because of the blowout. So I think he would have played about 34 minutes after playing 36 in regulation against, I think it was Golden State, maybe, whoever Charlotte had played 2 games ago. So I think that Devontae Graham, PJ Washington, and then if ownership's going to be low on Terry Rozier, they're all pretty decent options.
All right. Anything else from our first game here? Shall we talk about Dallas and Memphis?
No, that's it from that one.
All right, let me look up the old Hollinger pay stats because I did not call up that page. We have some interesting stuff here. So Memphis traditionally plays slow. That is no longer the case. They are now playing, where are they? They are at the 5th fastest pace. Again, we're just, depending on the team, 6 to 8 games in at this point, but they are up there in pace, which over their last 4 years, they have been bottom 4 times, last twice, and bottom 5 times. So there we are with the old Memphis. On the other side, this one is going to be interesting with Dallas, because Dallas has changed their lineup a lot. And a lot means Kristaps Porzingis is in. Now, he did not. We do not know what is going to be happening here on the back-to-back, as he is taking on a former foe in his previous team here, hosting them in his new digs. But on the back-to-back here, Adam, his price point is down across the league. Across the sites. We have 1 7 o'clock game, 3 8 o'clock games, so no late night hammer. But I think Porzingis is quite interesting going against a mediocre at best and Olay defense at the worst front court here for the Memphis Grizzlies. No longer grit and grind. Talk to me about the Dallas Mavericks.
Nice pace-up spot for Dallas. Going into Friday night, Memphis was 5th in the league in pace. Not a good defensive team either. And Porzingis is cheap. He admitted that he's not playing as well as he would like after not really playing for 2 years, and that's to be expected somewhat. But that doesn't mean that his ceiling's any lower. You're still seeing 32 to 34 minutes in competitive games. He's pretty cheap. The usage is still there, so there's still plenty of upside for him at this salary in a favorable matchup.
All right. Your guy, Luka Doncic, is he going to factor into your plans on our 8-team player pool?
Yeah, great spot for him, and his price actually dropped a little bit from where it was at on Friday. He's 9,600 on DraftKings now. I absolutely love Luka. He's playing huge minutes in competitive games, pace up spot, like I said, and just contributes in every category. So definitely planning on building around Luka.
All right, let me get back to the proper screen. Finishing up here with anybody from Dallas, perhaps Dylan Wright, Maxi Kleber, or Jaron Jackson's on the other team. Dwight Powell. Anybody else here? A Jay Crowder. Oh, that's kind of a revenge from earlier in his career. And we just talked about we don't like revenge. However, 8-game player pool, $5,000 Jay Crowder on DraftKings, and he can do a little bit everything. A couple guys in the front court are sketchy with foul issues between Valanciunas and Jaren Jackson. Damn, Jay Crowder's feeling like a cash play. Adam, talk me out of that or into that one.
So still on the Dallas side, I think Dwight Powell is a really good play. He played 34 minutes last game, and obviously we don't know yet how much he plays Friday, but seems like he's locked into big minutes now. He's still pretty cheap in that favorable matchup against Memphis. As far as Crowder goes, price tag seems fine. Not someone I really like playing in cash all that much because he's just not the most consistent player. But there's no real issue for me at that price tag. I don't feel strongly one way or the other.
All right. Sorry, I was jumping around there. Was trying to answer a Slack chat that did not work out in the favor of anybody listening to this. But hey, give me a do-over. Check out the old Yahoo, the presenting sponsor here for the DFS Early Bird. We'll have the baller article for the NFL that will be posted shortly before lunchtime on Saturday, giving you some tips and tricks on how you should approach the NFL slate for this weekend, which is Week 10 over there on Yahoo. They have the $250,000 baller, $10 entry fee there. It's an exciting contest. They do now have CSV upload as well as CSV edit. However, for the 9th straight week last week, the contest did not quite fill. So there are some advantages to checking out the old Yahoo there because the big gamers, the Apex Predators, are focusing on the other giant prize pools. Adam, how have you done on Yahoo? You had a nice moment there with a 5-figure showing there in the early weeks. Have you been playing on a little bit on Yahoo at all for any of the sports?
Yeah, still playing NFL there. It's been going fine. A couple big weeks, a couple not so good weeks.
The other thing that's a little bit interesting there, they do have the Sunday night game as part of their main slate, and we do have Alex Baker, you know him better as Osmo, doing an entire show for 49 to 53 minutes. I've been timing it. It's not quite an hour. We don't claim it's an hour, but it's right there because it's normally around my lunchtime on Friday at the old day job. But check that out because he and Nolan Kelly break down and build a couple of tournament lineups as well as their cash game lineups. So check that out. Definitely worthwhile. Yahoo.com, where you want to go if you don't want to deal with the Apex Predators. Adam, you ready to move on to game number 3 here?
I think it's worth pointing out Jonas Valanciunas played 28 minutes 2 games ago. Off to a really good start on Friday night, so don't know where he'll end up, but pay attention to where his minutes end up because he's still pretty inexpensive for a guy who can produce at the rate that he can from a fantasy standpoint.
All right, Yahoo, goodness gracious. I'm doing too many things at once here. Houston at Chicago, and nothing rhymes with Yahoo there. Houston 7-point road favorites, 233 projected point total, highest of the night. Again, 3 games going off simultaneously here at 8 o'clock. Chicago, been a bit of a disaster from a fantasy standpoint because their guys are not playing a lot of minutes. Everybody seemingly has a glass ceiling around 30, 32 minutes here. Let's start off here on the Chicago side, Adam. They're getting a bit of a pace up game. They're getting a team that's going to shoot a gazillion 3-pointers. Of course, that means some rebounds, that means some fast breaks. Can we trust or can we at least lean towards anybody from the Bulls?
Yeah, I think there's some pretty good value here with Otto Porter out. You're getting Chandler Hutchison in the starting lineup. He's 3,200 on DraftKings, so essentially minimum priced. Not sure exactly how many minutes he'll play, and he's not the most productive fantasy player, but when you're minimum salary, it's pretty hard to really fail. But on top of that, Kobi White has been the direct backup to Otto Porter this season. He's a guy who is not afraid whatsoever to shoot off the bench. Has between a 24 and 25% usage rate so far this year. I think that you see him potentially play close to 30 minutes in this spot at a cheap price tag in a pace up spot. So I expect Kobi White to be one of my higher owned guys on the slate. And then you get to, Zach LaVine, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter, who all have their concerns about minutes for various reasons, but they're also all guys that have monster ceilings in them. So, I would rank them LaVine, then Markkanen, then Carter. But, all 3 guys are pretty solid options against Houston.
All right, cruising along to the other side, even though they are favorites, they still have to make it happen. Houston barely above 500 on the season. This is a game they're going to want to win, particularly when you look at Western Conference seeding. So we have on DraftKings here, James Harden, 11,800. Russell Westbrook, 9,000 even. For pretty much the first time on a show we've done together, I'm going to ask you, do you have Westbrook ahead of Harden on DraftKings / fantasy draft?
I think so.
It's like a 20% discount. That's pretty hefty.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Harden is the better DFS guy.
Better
But
DFS guy, better raw points, but we got a
yeah,
salary cap.
right. And it's not like Westbrook doesn't have a high ceiling. He's still grabbing rebounds. He's still a triple double threat every single game. He's coming off of a really disappointing game against Golden State where he only had 40 DraftKings points. He rolled his ankle with about 6 minutes to go and didn't come back. So, maybe that keeps the ownership down a little bit, but it's just a lot easier for Russell Westbrook to beat a 9K price tag than it is for James Harden to beat 11,800.
All right, I'm just checking. Who am I? Is somebody out here for Houston amongst the dregs, or are they all back?
Eric Gordon is back, so
I think they're all back. Yeah. So it's like Eric Gordon can't make a bucket. PJ Tucker can't miss a bucket. I'm going to split the difference and say if I got to play somebody, I'm intrigued by Daniel House. Not really interested in anybody here, but it is just an 8-team player pool in our 4-game slate. Adam, do you like the understudies here for Houston?
Not really. I'm waiting for the next time that Westbrook or Harden rests because I'll be right back to Eric Gordon. But with both of them in, you just can't really expect a whole lot out of him because one of them's on the floor at all times, dominating the ball. Clint Capella obviously is a reasonable option. A really good fantasy player normally. He did admit that he's dealing with some shoulder issues and it's affected his rebounding and his dunking. So those are really the only 2 things he does. So that's a little bit concerning, and maybe it's why his minutes have fluctuated so much this season. But out of the backups, I would say, or not the backups, but the guys that aren't Harden and Westbrook, I would say that Capella is probably the most favorably priced.
All right, moving to the Bulls side here, there is a chance Chandler Hutchison, no ends till the end, could be starting. You've got Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Zach Attack, Kobi White, as you mentioned, Tomas Satoransky, Chris Dunn. Kind of a roll of the dice here. I'm looking at all the sites for their price points. If I got to pick one of them at this point, I think it's Zach Attack. Markkanen just not quite getting the consistent shots that we are hoping for. Zach has no conscience, and he is essentially going to be leading the team in assists, depending on what Tomas Satoransky does here. What do you like from the Bulls?
We already did the Bulls.
Good God, I'm sorry. I gotta stop answering Slack questions. We can't do these before lock mid slate. All right, final game of the night. You don't want to hear me. You want to hear Adam. Adam, D'Angelo Russell, feeling like he's in a good spot. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on the other side. We have Golden State and Oklahoma City. We have a 220 over under. However, the Thunder favored by 12 because the Golden State Warriors are allowing about 117 points per 100 possessions. Talk to me here, kid. Talk to me. What do you want to do?
Yeah, so D'Angelo Russell starting on Friday night for Golden State. Pay attention to how many minutes he plays. We haven't gotten any sort of report about him being restricted. And if you can pencil him in for 34 to 36 minutes, he has about a 35% usage rate, 36% assist percentage in his time without Steph Curry on the floor so far. So he would be obviously a very high upside option. But pay attention to news on him because this Friday night is his first game back from an ankle injury that caused him to miss a couple of games. This is a back-to-back, so there's definitely some news to pay attention to as far as what to expect from him minutes-wise. But beyond that, if he does play, and if he's nothing weird happens in the Friday rotation, it's tough to get to anyone else on Golden State. Really, they're still priced up from when Russell was out. Him being back, takes shots away from Eric Pascal. Alec Burks, I am expecting to play 26 to 28 minutes on Friday. If he plays more than that, then I think he would be a good play. But I obviously don't know if that's the case yet. But overall, I think that Golden State is just a little bit expensive with Russell in.
Yeah, it's been. We have no precedent, I think is a better way of saying it. Here with Golden State, they've pretty much lost multiple All-Stars out of their starting lineup. It is an unmitigated disaster at this point. Steven Adams, I have tried to believe. I'm still kind of believing in him because of the price point, Adam. But can we get a double double from him at this point? He's gone 6 games. He has one double double. That is 2 games ago. It has been just a mess. He missed 2 games there with a lower leg injury, missed on October 30th and then November 2nd. He did play 26 minutes on the 5th, 27 on the 7th. We are coming in here on the 9th. How are you feeling about Steven Adams? Apparently is a value play these days.
Yeah, going right back to him. He tanked my night on Thursday, but I see no reason not to be rostering him. You should get at least 28 minutes out of him in a competitive game, if not more. He's inexpensive. Going into Thursday's game, he was 6th in the NBA in rebound chances per game, despite only averaging 25 minutes per game or 26 minutes per game. And that's a stat that it's not adjusted per 36 minutes. He's just getting that many opportunities. He has a 20% rebound percentage, or had going into Thursday. So many opportunities there for him without Westbrook. Now you get a Golden State team that's terrible defensively. Should get plenty of rebounds from defensive rebounds from an inefficient shooting Golden State team. So I expect Adams to be one of my highest owned guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think people forget. We pointed out, or at least I'm sorry, I did. I'm sure you did in your content, but the last time they took the court, I said that Adams is averaging 11.5 rebounds per game. That was I think it's like 8th in the league. And it's just the shot attempts and shots that aren't quite there. Some of that has to do with minutes. It entirely changes his game when Russell Westbrook is not there. I think Clint Capella is raising his hand and just saying, shit, Westbrook's actually pretty damn active. It isn't just me boxing him out. He gets to some of these rebounds before I can. So that's one thing you want to remember that's coming back there with Adams' game. Again, if he gets some of the shot attempts, if he can just get a double-double, all of a sudden you're looking at an entirely different box score. The one thing you do want to remember, he does not get as many blocks as we would think. A good game for him is 3 or more. That's not what you expect when you hear Steven Adams, or it is at least not what I expect when I hear Steven Adams' name, but that's kind of where it is. However, he should be in the mix, if fully healthy, for around 30 fantasy points per game, the way that the Thunder play and for what he does. So fantasy point per minute, if we can get there, there's just been a lot of mitigating circumstances there. Anything else that you would like to touch on from this game, Adam?
Gilgeous-Alexander, yeah, I mean Gilgeous-Alexander, Gallinari, and Paul are all reasonable options, as is Schroeder actually. Just going up against a really really bad defense. Gilgeous-Alexander leads the team in usage, but he is pretty scoring dependent. We saw that in the game against Oklahoma or against San Antonio on Thursday. He scored a lot or a good amount, but he didn't do anything else, and so he disappointed at his $7,100 price tag. That's the risk you run with him, but he does play 36 minutes a night. He does attack the basket, and he does have decent rebounding numbers. So I do still like him with his price where it's at. Gallinari, we finally saw some signs of life on Thursday. Chris Paul's been playing a bit better. So I think that they're all pretty good options. I would say Adams is my favorite guy from OKC, followed by Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, the one thing I just want a word of caution here with Gallinari. Let's just say he's been struggling a little bit for the new environment. He has topped 30 fantasy points only once since the first game, and that was on Thursday. He managed his second lowest field goal output of 10, but he hit 7 of his shots. He got to the line 9 times. Oh, by the way, he got to the line 9 times in his prior 4 games combined, and he hit 8 of 9. So he lucked out, dropped 5 3-pointers, 5 boards, 7 of 10 from the field, 8 of 9 from the line, and got 41 fantasy points. Just be cognizant this is not the same output that we have been seeing from his Denver days, from his Los Angeles Clipper days. He should get there, but it's not the gimme. So when you see him at that lower price point, particularly on DraftKings where he's power forward and small forward eligible, which gives him access to 4 of our 8 roster slots, just be careful. It's a small slate. I'm not saying cross him out. Just know that it's not the gimme that it seemed like last season and the season before when he was healthy with the Clippers and dropping 35, 40 fantasy points with regularity. Any other thoughts you want to mention, Adam? I'm calling up the old FanDuel and Yahoo projections here.
No, not on that game.
All right, so looking at, let's get over here to
Hang on,
Yahoo.
did we do the Boston game?
Son of a gun, we didn't. I'm sorry. I apologize. I have not got the spreadsheets done correctly. I've got too many things going on and too many games we're starting at 8 o'clock. And by too many, I mean 75% of our. Oh wait, no. We're good. Asked him. The Boston game is at the beginning of the slate, Adam. The 5 o'clock slate.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we're good. We're good there. Oh my god, I kept trying to make sure. Hey, did you get them all? You got it. There's a 7 and there's 3 8 o'clocks that usually.
Yeah, that's my bad. I didn't have the time on it.
No. It's okay because I should be guiding and I should have known officially. I did not. That's okay. But let's talk about Yahoo real quick here. A plethora, a contingent of $10 and $11 players here. I'm going to throw out some names, Adam. We have Dwight Powell at 11. You've got Maxi Kleber at 11. You've got Jordan Poole at 10. You've got DFS Dorian Finney-Smith at 10. And then you've got Kobi White, who's been intriguing for Chicago there at 13. Any of those names pop for you?
Yeah, tons of Kobi White there. Dwight Powell as well. I think those are the 2 that really stand out.
I didn't mention Hamidou Diallo. Did you see he got 20 and a half fantasy points in his last outing?
Yeah, so he sucked.
Well, yeah, he did. Okay. Well, yes, there's no way around that. I cannot perfume that pig. Let's take a quick look here at FanDuel. Definitely it's going to be Kobi White. He is 4,200. You got him at point guard eligibility. The question is, with 8 teams in play, how many point guards is he really going to cost us? And then we look at centers, and you've got Steven Adams and Nerlens Noel as the best teammates, as the best point per dollar guys. You also have Clint Capella in there. If you're looking at a pivot position here, player, center Adam on FanDuel, anybody get a lean there for you between Capella, Adams, You've got Dwight Powell, another reasonable play here. He is at 5,100. Looks like we could be going discounted centers on Saturday.
Yeah, looking at the centers on FanDuel, I think that Carter is interesting at 6,500, Adams at 63. Those two really stand out, and then Powell at 5,100.
All right, and your GPP swerve, I'm guessing, would be Jonas Valanciunas here back to back, but 7,100 there going against Dallas.
Yeah, I like that. Depending on how many minutes he plays on Friday
Night.
and any news, obviously.
Excellent. All right, gamers. Well, with that, you're going to get Adam and I. Hey, you know what? We're going to throw in that 5 o'clock game as we go through the DFS strategy show for NBA 9:30 on Saturday. I guarantee we're not going to go more than 45 minutes on that one. We will turn it into a podcast. So for those of you out there running around with the kids on the soccer field, the basketball court, etc., doing errands, yard work, we got you covered. We'll hook that one up. You are going to get at 11 o'clock the final NFL DFS strategy show. At 6 o'clock, you're going to get live before lock with one fast Eddie Fear, taking you down the home stretch there for the NBA. And then you've got the deep dive article behind the paywall. That's going to come out around 4:30 there. So we got you covered with all of your content. Oh, and somehow I missed. On the contrary, with Alex Baker, Chris Spags, and special guest, that one is going to be going off at 2 o'clock Eastern. We got you covered. Go on over there to YouTube. Check out the Awesemo channel. You can follow Adam on Twitter at DFS, or pardon me, at Ship My Money DFS. I am at EMAC DFS, and it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.